Well, President Trump watching all of this play out at the White House as he prepares to deliver his first address to a joint session of Congress. The president will likely talk tough on tariffs tonight. And sort of speaking to what Lana just mentioned, here's what his vice president said about what would need to happen to roll back those tariffs against Canada.
What do you need to see from Canada to roll back these tariffs?
Look, the president's going to have conversations with the Canadians. We need to see real engagement on the fentanyl issue, on the drug issue. That is fundamentally the underlying element of these tariffs, is we think the Canadians have not been serious about stopping the drug trade. Now, people will sometimes say, well, if you look at the numbers, the Mexicans send way more fentanyl into the United States than the Canadians do. The Canadians have allowed a lot of fentanyl to come into the country. It's not a defense to say more has come from Mexico, because way too much has come from Mexico too.
So let's go to our nation's capital and CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. Olivia, is that a preview of the messaging we're going to hear from the president tonight?
Well, it's certainly something we might hear from him as to why these tariffs are being placed on our allies of Canada and Mexico from the USMCA. And you heard the vice president there talk about the amount of fentanyl coming across the border, saying that more comes from Mexico, and that's not a defense. But we should note a very little amount actually comes across the border from Canada. The majority of the fentanyl that comes into this country that kills Americans comes from Mexico, which was then shipped over through China. We know this is fact. I do want to point out something that Trudeau just said in that press conference that ended about this exact issue and the fentanyl. He said, quote, "I think what President Trump said yesterday, that there is nothing Canada or Mexico can do to avoid these tariffs, underlines very clearly what I think a lot of us have suspected for a long time, that these tariffs are not specifically about fentanyl, even though that is the legal justification for the use." Now, Trudeau says he's going to fight the use of these tariffs through the USMCA and the framework that's been provided there, ultimately going to the World Trade Organization to argue that these are unfairly levied against them. But of course, this comes as Trump is going to make this ginormous speech tonight, this joint address to Congress, where he'll be talking about economic issues and tariffs specifically. Obviously, we'll be hearing about why he did this in terms of fentanyl, but also trying to fight for the American people. On True Social this morning, he also said that all of these tariffs would go away if companies just made their product in America. But Reed, the question is, will these tariffs hurt the people who are already making their products in America?
We also know that Democrats plan to bring fired federal workers as their guests. What kind of a message is this planning to send to Republicans and to the nation?
Well, certainly a strong one is what Democrats are hoping. Ruben Gallego is bringing an Army veteran who went on to work for the Department of Homeland Security and was promptly fired last month in an email. That's just one story of a dozen of these federal workers or former federal workers, I should say, that will be coming to the Capitol tonight to listen to this speech from President Trump, but also be in the same room as Elon Musk. He will be a guest tonight at the Capitol for this speech. Be notable to see where exactly he sits in the chamber, if it's close to Trump, if it's in his guest area. But of course, he's the one who's been promoting all of these firings of probationary workers through DOGE, the Department of Government Accountability, but the goal there essentially being to bring all of these people there, send a message that, look, you have fired these people, they are probationary employees, but they're still Americans and they're still workers, and they were here to do a job, and now they're no longer able to do that.
Olivia Rinaldi live on Capitol Hill. Thank you for that.